what the budget papers show is that the economy is actually slowing down, and as a result of the economy slowing down, unemployment is going up. So what we see is unemployment rises to 4% at the end of 23-24, so that's the middle of this year, and then rises further the following year to 4.5% and stays there for the next 3 years. So it's that increase in unemployment, not, for example, the Treasurer could have been running a big surplus in a situation in the early 1950s when the terms of trade was as high as it is now. The government of the day ran big surpluses in order to repay debt, but he's not doing that. He's balanced the budget this time with $9 billion. Sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at relative to the size of the Australian economy of which is now 2.6 trillion Australian dollars, that's only 0.3 of 1% of GDP. So what we've got here is a balanced budget, not a surplus budget, and so what he's relying on, therefore, is rising unemployment up to 4.5% and staying there, putting downward pressure on wages growth, putting downward pressure on inflation, and the result of that is that as inflation falls, and it takes a long time for inflation to fall, you get to the middle of 2027 before you get inflation down to the RBA target of 2.5%. So it takes a long time, because it takes a long time to get down to that inflation target. It takes a long time for interest rates to fall. So what I think, what my view of this effect on interest rates is that we have no movement in interest rates this year, and we don't have a cut until the middle of next year, and they're very gradual cuts as we move towards this level of unemployment of 4.5%, and level of inflation of 2.5%.
And Michael, just looking at the expenses by function and the increases, obviously the big increase is in social security and welfare because there's practically a handout for everyone. But can you talk to the changes that we're seeing in things like fuel, for example? Do you see any of this budget as real reform, as has been noted?
As real reform?
Yeah.
I don't see it as real reform, but I do see it as providing a bit of rocket fuel for particular sectors of spending. If in the piece that I published, there's a number of tables, and in Figure 6, the estimates have increased Australian government expenditures by function. We have two areas where, say, Social Security only increases by 5%. But fuel and energy increases by 52%. So, and that's, of course, subsidies for electricity. And the other one is, and that increases to $6.8 billion in terms of spending. And the other one is housing and communities amenities, which is the program to support state governments in the house building process. Their spending goes up by 26%, and that rises by $2 billion. So there's a couple of places where they're definitely applying large focused spending to deal with problems that might pop up in the electorate in terms of why haven't you done anything about electricity prices? There's big subsidies for that. And why aren't you doing anything about housing? There's big subsidies to state governments for that. So that's really the action that's happening to, and where the big increases are.
Do we have any questions from the network for Michael?
Michael, Warwick McKibben has described the Treasurer's actions as political trickery or something close to that. The rebates reduce costs of electricity, etc. Is that the basis on which the Treasurer then hypothesises that by December the RBA target range might be reached of 2.5%? And if so, is it trickery, or is it a redefining of? Will the RBA fall for it if it's a trick?
No, the RBA won't fall for it, because the CPI that's in the budget papers is headline CPI, and what the RBA uses is the trimmed mean of core inflation. So the measure of inflation that the RBA uses filters out headline effects like this, so it has no effect. It really has no effect on monetary policy. But I must say, I thought when I watched the budget speech, as a piece of economic policy, it was a wonderful political presentation, and I think the Treasurer is a very sophisticated presenter, a political presenter. It's almost like he had a PhD in politics.